in the end may not come to. Our thoughts are on the side. Well, this is from last meeting.
Fine, outstanding job, but I won't.
Oh, here you go. Go right here. Yeah, both sides of the room. More things are good, I guess.
Yeah, you and me both. We'll go ahead and call the Education Committee meeting August 4th, 6 p.m. to order. Mr. Raymond Ely.
I'll be happy to. Gracious God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the rain, and thank you for the sunshine. We also thank you for the opportunity to do the people's business. Yes, this is Christ in the land.
Approve of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's unanimous. Approve of the minutes, July 28th, in your packet. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's unanimous. Recognition of the public. We have two folks. You know the drill.
Kevin Baker, 424 A.B. Wade Road. I wanted to address, I saw on the agenda, we're going to be talking a little bit about the progress of this lease for the Innovation Center. And last Monday, public comments, I saw in the back of the room, our school director was basically acknowledging the fact that I was throwing out a challenge about that I don't think people are going to be brought down from the upper sections of the county. So I'm just getting up here, and I'm hoping to hear from him tonight, but I'd also expect to hear from you folks to demand some real reporting with actual numbers. If this is such a great idea, let's tout it. And I would expect a report at some frequency so that we actually can look at things. The only way you improve anything, I spent a lot of years in process improvement, process engineering. The only way you improve it is to measure it and actually challenge those measurements. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Charlene on.
Hi, I'm Charlene Alno. I live at 143 Blueland Circle, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075. And I just wanted to speak about a couple of the items since you're already. First, I do want to say that I have a child who did a camp at Ellis, and the people that were working on the Hendersonville High School Stadium were working in the rain at 6 o'clock at night several weeks ago. I was like, that's going to get done. They were working very diligently. I was impressed to see that. And then I wanted to say I had listened to the school board meeting, which is where a lot of the reporting typically happens on school things. And I was impressed to hear that about the Apple lease, because it was still, we were still going to get ownership at the end of the lease, but it was able to smooth out the cost over each year. I thought that was, I mean, business has been doing that forever, right? And so it's nice that it's finally caught up to the public realm. And so I hope that you guys will pass this and move it on to budget, and then it can go to the full commission. And I just want to say thank you for everything that's being done. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Public comments? Seeing none, close that. Before the chair, just mentioning Ms. Borger, she did reach out to me telling me she won't make it tonight. I don't know. Did Mr. Lambert show up?
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Lambert, not sure what it is, but that's my report. For the county mayor, did he step out? He's not here. Or the director of schools.
Right, I'd be happy to share, and then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well. Kicked off school today. You know, I shared an email with employees this morning. We'll get a good feel of numbers in about 2 or 3 weeks. You know, it's you have a bunch of kids registered new over the last 3 weeks before school starts, but then you have a lot that have moved, and we can't take them off our rolls until we get a transfer from another school district. Well, if they moved up north or out west, a lot of the schools don't start until a couple of weeks from now. So it'll be until we get to about 20 days in the school year. That's kind of the magic number. When the dust starts to settle, we get an idea. But they went really smoothly. Just to give you some statistics, we served about 22,000 meals today. Buses drive the equivalent of 9 round trips to Disney every day. and they were up this morning about 5 a.m. If you've ever had the opportunity to meet Tracy Richardson or see her team, they're really phenomenal. And, you know, we were down to only 2 driver positions to cover all of our routes, and then we had a few people on medical leave, and some other stuff are up to about 5. But I really want to praise our transportation because a lot of counties just shut down routes. We always figure it out so that you know, you don't get a call as a parent at 2 o'clock saying you come pick up your child because there's not going to be a bus service. I mean, we've always done that in Sumner County. I think that's a mark of something that we do really well. So. Great morning. You know, there's always a couple of kids that forget where they live between morning and afternoon. There's always a few little exciting things, but all told a really good day, and you can see it. I love the first day of school pictures, and you know, just give a shout out of how well Sumner County works. You know, for me, when you pull in, I think I went to 7 schools this morning. Each one, you see the SRO's vehicle pulled right there. There's not a bigger protection or deterrent than seeing that sheriff's office car right outside the school. And then, you know, to get inside the school, and I was at Knox Dawson this morning to see the SRO there out in the hallway giving high fives, talking to students, see students genuinely excited. When you think about some of the things going around the country, to see, if you did a survey, I guarantee you the SRO would score in the top 2 most popular figures in every school in Sumner County. And that's a really, I hear number 1 is where Sumner. In all honesty, it's really exciting to see the relationships that we have. And I think it's great for our kids that their first interaction with a law enforcement officer is really positive. I think that's a great thing when you think about the amount of trauma and other things that so many kids endure today. To have those positive relationships is really good. So huge shout out to our school staff, but also to all those others that help and support us. In terms of athletic facilities, beach, the stadium's up, the press box is set, the flat work, the concrete in front of visitors, working around to the home side, extra point net poles in place, doors in case working concession stand will install this week. Hendersonville, the home side stadium, work continues. As Ms. Miller mentioned, they were out there all this weekend. They're there Sunday too, putting the aluminum on the seats. We had a guy drove the press box from across the country and was about 15 yards from dropping it off and hit a tree. So they're sending, it was all cosmetic, they're sending new metal up, and those have to unscrew that and screw it on. But it was a scary moment when you hit the tree with the sideswiping the tree. Portland's completed 2 middle school games tomorrow night. Track station camp, we finally got enough dry days to put the sod down. You know, we had for a while, we had 9 straight days where it rained every 12 hours. So we've got the sod down at Station Camp. We have the binder course asphalt completed. The final asphalt will be installed tomorrow. Gallatin, there's still storm drainage work that's continuing. New parking proof roll passed that ensures structural integrity, and a partial stone base installed. At Merle Magnet, we've got the proof roll passed on the tennis courts and fill material being placed. You know, part of that will be seeing how much additional fill dirt, things like that's needed just based on the dirt quality. We will have, I believe, John talked a little bit about, you know, when the old health department was knocked down, the wiring to the Merrill High soccer field, the lights were connected. They were run off the health department, so we have no lights currently. So we got a soccer game next week.
So the health department paying the bill?
We're not going to get into that.
Okay.
I'd like to say also that we own the land underneath the health department, so this is like that airport authority thing, where they pay rent in the building we own. That's really where we are on the athletic facilities. Really excited just to see all the great work going on around the county. It really has hit fever pitch and getting done. Station camp was really good opportunity. I mean, I was nervous most of the summer because it looked like a soup bowl because we went through monsoon season in June and it finally dried out, and they did a tremendous job, and so we're really excited about that. And you know, Beach and Hendersonville is going to be Portland, you know, going to be really amazing. I'd like to clarify for the record that 2 things have happened. You have the lights change colors at some of the stadiums, and they shoot down. So supposedly Gallatin's was frozen in beach colors. I had nothing to do with that. Portland's was frozen in White House colors.
Oh, boy, I didn't
I had nothing to do with that. like 17-year-old me would have 100% had something to do with that, but 52-year-old me, it's not worth the argument. But the good news is the contractor, the vendor on the lights has learned the appropriate school color, so we'll get that solved. I mean,
I wonder why I was seeing blue in pictures, yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Wood said it was Kentucky blue, not White House blue, so he was okay with that. But we've got, I'll tell you one of the neatest things is we consolidated all the pre-Ks into the old E.D. Wilson building in Gallatin. So we got 8 or 7 pre-K classrooms in that building. We built a new playground. And just walking outside today and hearing pre-K kids up there on the field playing right outside Gallatin Stadium is really a neat thing. And then we're going to have that, it's the ornamental fencing going around Gallatin Stadium. We've got the new lights. It's going to make the old stadium look really good. Really excited about that. So that's an update on the athletic facilities. Those same lights and fencing are going to be up at Westmoreland also. Innovation Center, we signed the lease on Tuesday last week. Thank you all for your support. All utilities have been switched over to Sumner County. We began moving some offices on Friday when we took over the building. Our CTE team will operate out of the Innovation Center, and I'll share a more comprehensive rollout plan in September. We have exciting news that's being finalized. Our plan is to bring kids from all over the county. Our transportation department's already working on what that'll look like to get kids down by starting the class. What we do in January will not be what we'll do. Some of that next year, but it's really gonna take off in ways that I think are really amazing. So we'll have the Aviation Academy. We're going to have criminal justice. We're teaching as a profession. We're going to have several other some dual enrollment classes that you struggle to get to. You got to have at least 10 kids for a dual enrollment class to make. Sometimes that's hard to get at any one school, but if you put 3, 4, 5 schools together, you have a much better chance of getting that class to make. And then if you put 2 of those together, then you can take 2 blocks, and that gives you enough transportation time to get. It's 41 minutes from Westmoreland High School to the Innovation Center. So if you run that class, say 45, 9 o'clock, you got enough time to complete the class and get back for the next 2 blocks. We did this for a long time in Portland for the vocational tech program with us kids from across the county there. We can do it. I mean, the good news is we have about 188 buses, and we have a lot of bus drivers that are willing to jump in and help, and we'll figure it out. I think it does highlight, just trying to figure out, we lose a lot of kids in that senior year and then that transition from senior year to what's next, and trying to figure out that transportation piece is gonna be big for them. I've got some other details that I can't share because they're not quite final yet. I hope I'll be able to share a lot more in September. But we took occupancy on Friday.
Ask a question.
If you have an opportunity, head up north of Dobbins Pike, Highway 174. Go straight across 52 on the Fairfield Road. Look for a little school on the left called North Sumner. Go up there and look at the windows and the work that was done this summer. It really looks good, inside and out.
Good.
Good.
Awesome. That's exciting. It's such a beautiful view up there, and it is. It's a beautiful drive and beautiful school, and now with glass instead of that fiberglass. It's nice.
I was up there 2 weeks ago.
It looks good.
Last thing I had is the Apple lease. So Apple offers 0% financing for 3 years with guaranteed buyback at the end. In Tennessee, that's considered a lease, and that's why, even though it's 0% interest, that's why it's over here, because the state considers that a lease. What it lets us do is it lets us stagger the payments. We get the computers down. It lets us, during COVID, so just when COVID started in 2020, we were very much connected to hardwired computers and computer labs and things like that, which do you absolutely no good if kids aren't in the school. We very quickly jumped into Chromebooks because that's all you could get. The problem with the Chromebook is after a couple of years, they're worthless, and the wear and tear on them is not real good. Apple, at the same time, jumped back into the K-12 market. They've gotten out of it for a long time. And basically, they offer an iPad with a case, with a keyboard on it, trackpad, real nice, very rugged. we've lost way fewer with the kids having them than I would have thought. Apple's been impressed with our success rate in holding on to them, but it confirms what I've known. At any given time in the middle school or high school, you can find about $13,000 of hoodies, jackets. You never find a phone or an Apple Watch or technology. But our kids have done good, man. This lets us get, so what we're looking at here is 1,540 MacBook Airs. We've had to for a long time. Schools have borne the brunt of trying to take care of paying for that technology. We would give them a district device fund allotment. The problem that we ran into was that the district device fund allotment wasn't enough to sustain, getting iPads and MacBooks and things like that, or PCs. The other problem is a significant number of our teachers are already using Mac products because it connects to the TVs and everything very, very easily. And the good thing is at the end of it, at the end of a 4-year cycle, like I think for a MacBook, it's about a $330 buyback. iPads, it's about $100, $105. So we'll get money that will go towards the next installment, but it lets us kind of smooth out the cost. And this gives us 1,540 MacBook Airs for teachers and staff, 200 iPads for principals and assistant principals. We like our principals and APs to have iPads because if they're in the classroom, they can very quickly, if they're doing an evaluation or they're in a classroom or they're in a meeting, they can very quickly pull up all the cameras. They can do almost everything you do on a laptop. It's very convenient. Our principals use these, APs use these a lot, and it's time to replace those. And then we did, previously, we tried to move away. We are not believers, especially in K2, of kids being on devices for significant amounts of time. We think that there needs to be some technology K2, but not kids sitting on there for extended periods of time. So we think 5 per classroom is sufficient, and so this will replace the current iPads. So we'll put 5 new iPads into all the K2 classrooms.
Give us a little more information on the policy for the new state law and what is Sumner County?
With cell phones?
Yes.
So if you ask me, I've come a long way on this because I used to say, I don't like the cell phones, but I can't imagine a scenario where we could manage it. Other districts are starting to do it. I'm actually 100% in favor of us just banning cell phones. I think if you look at, the early data that's starting to come out shows that cell phone usage among kids is as damaging as nicotine was for adults in the previous generation. And I think that if you look at some of the Warren County, for instance, actually instituted a complete cell phone ban over the director's recommendation. And he would tell you now he was 100% wrong. He just thought it would be tough to manage. He said the first 2 or 3 weeks the kids were angry, but then after it, he said he even had a kid come up to him and say, I had no idea there was a world where I couldn't take a text from my parents for 7.5 hours. He goes, this is amazing. My parents can't contact me. But more important is kids reading, kids talking in the cafeteria, and major discipline has dropped pretty significantly because what happens is it doesn't even get written up in the discipline report. It's like, I was telling somebody I had a situation where I told a young man to put his cell phone up when I was a principal, and he called me a foul name. Well, by the time we got back to the office and put in the computer, I didn't put anything about the phone. I put in what he had said and his subsequent actions after that, but the phone was the key initiating factor. If you look at those discipline rates and everything, it's off the charts the impact that cell phones have.
So what is Sumner County's policy as far as?
So our current policy meets the state requirements. Like, we do kind of have a ban, but it allows for teachers and schools to make exceptions if there's a legitimate need. I think you'll see a tightening up of that. I think before we can do a total ban, with teeth in it, we're going to need to spend a year probably. I would look for something next year because we already meet the requirements of the law. It gives us the time to think through all of this. So there's a lot of managerial aspects of it that we want to be sure principals have time to, where we get a lot of feedback from that about the best way to manage it. Like, for instance, Warren County uses those things if you're ever at a concert or comedy show where they have a pouch, you put the phone in, you close it up, and at the end of the day you hit it on a magnet, and then you can get it out. Other schools do, we do this in a lot of ours. You got a pouch up in the front, it's got pockets, and kids put them in. Now, problem we run into is kids have burner phones. They put a burner phone in there, and they keep their real phone in there. They're teenagers. They're good at this stuff. So it's going to be a lot of working through the logistics. Some parents have legitimate concerns about safety. One of the superintendents I talked to said the best thing that happened is they had an SRO on the school board, and he was able to say the number one thing you want in the event of a school shooting is not to have kids on the phone. You know, if they listen to the teacher and they get in the safe space and the door's locked, there's never been anyone injured in a school shooting if that's happened. What you don't need is kids. I don't know if you see this with your teenagers or teenagers you know, they can be somewhat oblivious to everything around them if they're on their phones. And so, but yeah, I saw a first or second grader this morning in a little bit of a snit because they had to take their Apple Watch off and put it in their backpack because they wanted to be. But it's staggering. One of the school systems that I talked to said that they did an experiment, and in 10 minutes, the average kid had 50 notifications, texts, buzzes on their device in 10 minutes. And they say every time you get one, it takes about 20 minutes to regain your focus on what you're doing. So I just think it's going to take us about a year, Mr. Sullivan, to get everything lined up and figure out, you know, exactly what Sumner County's. We don't have, especially middle school and high school, we don't have the need for universal access to cell phones or anything like that because we've got the iPads. So there's no reason for them, there's no educational reason for them to need that cell phone in class.
Screen.
Yeah, a couple things. One is, before the iPads, you know, I taught seniors, and a lot of times they were using their phones to look up things that we needed for class. Also, I've got mixed feelings about the whole thing because, for example, most of my seniors had jobs, and they would often get texts from their employer saying, you don't have to work today, or come in early, or come in late, or something like that. And other kids would, you know, complain that, well, if I'm on my phone, what if there's an emergency? I said, your parents can call the office just like my parents did. So I mean, I can see, I really do see both sides of it from the student's point of view and from the school point of view.
I think if we can take time to do it right, we can also highlight the parents. I don't think that there are a lot of parents that have had the time to think through that there are other scenarios that don't require. It's weird because we all grew up without phones. I think I got my first one when I was 30, but it's hard now to imagine a world, and that the age of smartphone acquisition has dropped over the last 10 years from 15 to 11. It's pretty scary.
All right, anyone have any final questions there for Dr. Lammers? All right, thank you, sir, for all that good updates. No old business, moving on to new business. The first item A is the Apple lease purchase memo that Dr. Lansford just described. Is there a motion on that one?
Is that information on
No, this is one.
This has to be voted on.
that? Motion to approve.
I'll second
There's
it.
a motion approved and a second. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So that's unanimous. Item B is information only for docketing purposes. Item C, I know it'll be a different education committee, but the September meeting does fall on Labor Day. I think maybe the guidance is to move it to that Tuesday.
That's what, HEMS did.
Okay. Anyone opposed to just moving our education committee meeting to the Tuesday,
8-2.
right after Labor Day, 9-2 at 6 p.m.? Okay, so we'll go ahead and make a full vote on that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so that's unanimous. Motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Terry, I went up to know Summer one time and got to Kentucky and had to turn around.